We catch a lot of flack from some of you guys. All of our projects are like, oh, you know, slant 6 this and 318 that. Do something big, you know, do a Hemi, right? Okay, so this is Andy Hansen, and this is his 67 Hemi GTX. And this is our latest project car. So Andy, introduce yourself and the car.
Thank you. 67 GTX was delivered on 3 January 1967. I'm currently the 4th owner of this car. The car was originally delivered to Dallas, Texas. It has not been repainted on the outside, as you can see. It was Johnson Chrysler Plymouth in Dallas where it was delivered.
Now you notice it doesn't have the Hemi plaque, which would normally be on these cars. This is early production.
This is an early production, scheduled date of A20, right? So like October of 66, but it was actually delivered in January of 67. It was a owner specified car. It has the Hemi, it has power disc brakes in the front, and it has power steering. That's the only options.
And it's a 4-speed car.
On the car, 4-speed car.
354 gear.
354 Dana. Let's see inside. So I was fortunate enough to purchase this from a wonderful gentleman. And although the car did start, all of the systems need to be gone through to make sure it's roadworthy.
And that's what the car is here for now. So what we're going to do is, because you've had this car for how long?
I've only had this car now about 7 months.
Okay. And you guys have started it, so you know it had oil pressure.
We know it had oil pressure.
But it only ran for
about 20 seconds.
About 20 seconds.
Off the gas and the carbs.
Right. Now the gas in the tank is rancid, so we're going to have to drop the tank. So this is basically what the project with this car is. Right now it's a lawn ornament for the most part because everything has to be gone through. He doesn't know the history. He doesn't know anything about the brakes, you know, the rear end, the transmission, nothing. So, and this was put together back in 2003?
2003, the motor was gone through. We have the receipts for what was done to the motor.
Right.
The only thing really was freshened up and punched 30 over.
Okay. So it's been sitting for 18 years. It was put together by unknown people, and then it has sat for 18 years. So basically it's the same as if you drag this thing out of a barn and, you know, we'll go from there. The only formality we really don't have to go through is just making sure it's got oil pressure.
That's right.
Right. But we are going to start it, and we'll fill the carbs with gasoline from the squirt bottle, give it a crank, and see how it goes. But
Yep, still has the direct drive starter.
yeah,
And we have every system, I think, especially the fuel system, will have to be going through.
a lot of people, Hemi cars, 66 through 69 Hemi cars had a direct drive starter, the 4-speed cars, which is the same as a taxi cab. I have no idea why they did that. Automatic cars got the normal gear reduction starter that you have on every other Chrysler product of the era. But these always have a unique sound. You can always tell a 4-speed Hemi car starting up from like 2 blocks away because you think the regular Chrysler has a distinct sound. This is even more.
And Uncle Kathy, I don't know if you want to show the fender tag to the audience. It is a legit Hemi car with the bright blue 881 paint code.
And that's another thing we'll do. Once Andy's going to be here for this weekend, so we're going to spend the rest of the day assessing it, and we're going to come back tomorrow with a part 2 and tell you what we found and what we're going to do with the car. But one of the things we'll do once we have the car up in the air and the wheels off, we'll do a whole how to identify a Hemi car video, because this is obviously it has everything we need. It's right here.
You want the tape on the...
Oh yeah.
So one neat thing, the previous owner, when he was taking the car from Texas to his home, he stopped overnight and he was afraid to leave this in the parking lot on his trailer, so he put masking tape over the Hemi emblem, and he never took the tape off. And so that's been on there since 2005 or 6, something along those lines.
When did they? Okay, the block 426 Hemi
Yes.
emblems.
So
right?
the 66 emblems said 426 Hemi. 67 they went to this. I'm not an expert enough to know when they transitioned from the 426 emblems to just Hemi. And why it doesn't have a tag, a Hemi tag on the rear deck lid is a little bit of a mystery. But obviously that deck lid was part of the car.
Let's pop this air cleaner off. So, get that part in. So we got a couple of deviations from stock on this thing. There you go. The first is that it's got a Petronics ignition system in it. This car would originally have had a Prestolite dual point, cast iron based dual point. Some of the things that make me doubt, you know, the knowledge of the people who put this together originally is the hardware for the intake manifold. These are not the right type of bolts that would have been on there. I mean, that's nitpicking, but it's like you look at the choke assembly. You know, this is supposed to have a tube that goes down to the exhaust manifold to bring heat, and they just had it blocked off. So whenever this thing was running, it had the choke on, and you can see how carboned up everything is. So this is something we're going to have to address while we're at it. And then we found this. See, okay, so when you buy a car and you don't know who put it together, I'm looking things over just a few minutes ago, right? And I said, what's this extra wire that's here? And they've got, this is the hot lead for the Petronics. Whoever wired this car up, look at this. They used an alligator clip, okay? And they've got it jumped off of the ignition side of the voltage regulator. So it's like little stuff like that. It's like, you know, you couldn't have spliced a connection in there. We're going to leave that for the time being. We'll fix that. But just to get this engine running now.
Our goal will be to go back to the points distributor and make it back to how it came out in '67.
So we'll, let's light this thing up, see how it sounds. We'll fill the float bowls with gas, and then we'll go from there.
Go from there?
Yeah. Give me a minute here. So these right here that I'm pouring this gas down, these are the vents to the float bowl. And we'll do this side. Remember, these have two separate float bowls. And this ought to be enough fuel to run this thing for probably 30 seconds to a minute. I'm going to do the fronts. Oh my God, I'm leaning on this car and it doesn't have a fender cover.
Hey, don't scratch my car.
Oh man! All right, you ready? All right, I'll keep feeding it with the, go ahead. Sound bad. It's got a bad exhaust leak.
Hit it again?
Hang on, let me fill the bowl again.
It's alive.
I mean, it's not knocking, and there's no big cloud of smoke behind the car.
Or squirrels.
That's a win in my book. Okay, good. There you go. Clean, there's nothing out the exhaust.
Oil pressure light was off.
I didn't hear any lifter noise though. lash on these is supposed to be 28 and 32.
Yep.
So there should be some clatter going on
clattering
there.
going on?
Yeah, but there's no clatter. They might have swapped it to a hydraulic cam.
I don't think so.
Well, it's awfully quiet. But it doesn't matter, we got to pull the valve covers and do a lot of stuff anyway. And you said the carburetors? You had this thing running off the...
When I did hook a bottle up and had it come through the fuel pump, fuel was just coming out of the top of the carbs.
Okay.
So I didn't light it off.
The needle and seat assemblies are probably stuck. We'll pop the top of the carburetors off and just clean everything and make sure it's all good in there.
I definitely know we got a issue in the rear brake circuit. I think we have a bad cylinder in the rear.
Yeah, that
and
was
I think we got
empty.
something funny in the rear end.
We had a hard time pushing this car in. It took 4 of us to get it to move. So the rear end, there's something in the rear. So we'll have to go through that too. There's going to be, I hope you guys are going to get sick of Hemi GTX, I'm afraid, because there's going to be a lot of stuff to be done on this car. And Andy will be around on the weekends. So this is his car, his project. We're helping. You know, he's taking the lead on this. So you'll be around Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
That's right.
Yeah. So we'll be updating this every weekend. Tomorrow we'll come back and we'll tell you what we found as far as the assessment goes. We'll show you all of that and our plan of attack, and then we'll go from there. And then of course we got our helper Lee. He's wearing a Ford hat. What are you wearing a Ford hat for? Shouldn't you be wearing a UTG hat at least? Okay, enough of Lee. All right, so that's it for now, and we got a lot of ground to cover.
We got a lot of ground.
See you tomorrow.